Everyone, welcome back to this video series on cryptocurrency. Unlike BIP34, BIP9 counts activation signaling in whole intervals based on the difficulty retarget period of 2016 blocks for every retarget period. If the sum of block signaling for a proposal exceeds 95%, 196 of 2016, the proposal will be activated one retarget period later. BIP19 offers a proposal state diagram to illustrate the various stages and transitions for a proposal as shown in figure 1010. Proposals start in a defined state once their parameters are known defined in the Bitcoin software. For blocks with MTP after the start time, the proposal state transitions to started. If the voting threshold is exceeded within a retarget period and the timeout has not been exceeded, the proposal state transitions to locked in. One retarget period later, the proposal becomes active. Proposal remains in the active state perpetually once they reach that state. If the timeout is elapsed before the voting threshold has been reached, the proposal state changes to failed, indicating the rejected proposal. Rejected proposals remain in that state perpetually. BIP9 was first implemented for the activation of check sequence verify and associated BIPs 68112113. The proposal named CSV was activated successfully in July of 2016. The standard is defined in BIP9 version bits with timeout and delay. Consensus software development. Consensus software development continues to evolve, and there is much discussion on the various mechanisms for changing the consensus rules. By its very nature, Bitcoin sets a very high bar on coordination and consensus for changes. As a decentralized system, it has no authority that can impose its will on the participants of the network. Power is diffused between multiple constituencies such as miners, core developers, wallet developers, exchanges, merchants, and end users. Decisions cannot be made unilaterally by any of these constituencies. For example, while miners can theoretically change the rules by simple majority 51%, they are constrained by the consent of the other constituencies. If they act unilaterally, the rest of the participants may simply refuse to follow them, keeping the economic activity on a minority chain. Without economic activity, transactions, merchants, wallets, exchanges, the miners will be mining a worthless coin with empty blocks. This diffusion of power means that all the participants must coordinate and no change can be made. Status quo is the stable state of the system with only a few changes possible if there is strong consensus by a very large majority. The 95% threshold for soft forks is reflective of this reality. It is important to recognize that there is no perfect solution for consensus development. Both hard forks and soft forks involve trade-offs for some types of changes. Soft forks may be a better choice, for other hard forks may be a better choice. There's no perfect choice, both carry risks. The one constant characteristic of consensus software development is that the chain is difficult and consensus forces compromise. Some see this as weakness of consensus systems. It may in time you may come to see it, as I do, as the system's greatest strength. Bitcoin security. Securing Bitcoin is challenging because Bitcoin is not an abstract reference to value like a balance in a bank account. Bitcoin is very much like digital cash or gold. You've probably heard the expression possession is 9 9/10 of the law. In Bitcoin possession is 10/10 of the law. Possession of the key to unlock the Bitcoin is equivalent to possession of cash or a chunk of precious metal. You can lose it, misplace it, have it stolen, or accidentally give the wrong amount to someone. In every one of these cases, users have no recourse, just as if they dropped cash in a public sidewalk. However, Bitcoin has capabilities that cash, gold, and bank accounts do not. A Bitcoin wallet containing your keys can be backed up like any file. It can be stored in multiple copies, even printed on paper for hard copy backup. You can't back up cash, gold, or bank accounts. Bitcoin is different enough from anything that has come before, and we need to think about Bitcoin security in a novel way too. Security principles. The core principle in Bitcoin is decentralization, and it has important implications for security. A centralized model such as a traditional bank account or payment network depends on access control and vetting to keep bad actors out of the system. By comparison, a decentralized system like Bitcoin pushes the responsibility and control to the users, because security of the network is based on proof of work, not access. The network can be open and no encryption is required for Bitcoin traffic. On a traditional payment network such as a credit card system, the payment is open-ended because it contains the user's private identifier, the credit card number. After the initial charge, anyone with access to the identifier can pull funds and charge the owner again and again. Thus, the payment network has to be secured end-to-end 26 with encryption, and must ensure that no eavesdroppers or intermediaries can compromise the payment traffic in transit or when it is stored at rest. If a bad actor gains access to the system, he can compromise current transactions and payment tokens that can be used to create new transactions. Worse, when customer data is compromised, the customers are exposed to identity theft and must take action to prevent fraudulent use of the compromised account. Bitcoin is dramatically different. A Bitcoin transaction authorizes only a specific value to a specific recipient and cannot be forged or modified. It does not reveal any private information such as identities of the parties and cannot be used to authorize additional payments. Therefore, a Bitcoin payment network does not need to be encrypted or protected from eavesdropping. In fact, you can broadcast Bitcoin transactions over an open public channel such as unsecured Wi-Fi or Bluetooth with no loss of security. Bitcoin's decentralized security model puts a lot of power in the hands of the users. With that power comes responsibility for maintaining the secrecy of the keys. For most users, that is not easy to do, especially on general purpose computing devices such as internet connected smartphones or laptops. Although Bitcoin's decentralized model prevents the type of mass compromise seen with credit cards, many users are not able to adequately secure their keys and get hacked one by one. Developing a Bitcoin systems security. The most important principle for Bitcoin developers is decentralization. Most developers will be familiar with centralized security models that might be tempted to apply these models to their Bitcoin applications with disastrous results. Bitcoin's security relies on decentralized control over keys and on independent transaction validation by miners. If you want to leverage Bitcoin security, you need to ensure that you remain within the Bitcoin security model. In simple terms, don't take control of keep keys away from users, and don't take transactions off the blockchain. For example, many early Bitcoin exchanges concentrated all funds in a single hot wallet with keys stored on a single server. Such a design removes control from users and centralizes control over keys in a single system. Many Such systems have been hacked with disastrous consequences for their customers. Another common mistake is to take transactions off blockchain in a misguided effort to reduce transaction fees or accelerate transaction processing. And off blockchain system will record transactions on an internal centralized ledger and only occasionally synchronize them to the Bitcoin blockchain. This practice again substitutes decentralized Bitcoin security with a proprietary and centralized approach. When transactions are off blockchain, improperly secured centralized ledgers can be falsified, diverting funds in depleting reserves unnoticed. Unless you are prepared to invest heavily in operational security, multiple layers of access control, and audits as the traditional banks do, you should think very carefully before taking funds outside of Bitcoin's decentralized security context. Even if you have funds and discipline to implement a robust security model, such a design merely replicates the fragile model of traditional financial networks plagued by identity theft, corruption, and embezzlement. To take advantage of Bitcoin's unique decentralized security model, you have to avoid the temptation of centralized architectures that might feel familiar but ultimately subvert Bitcoin's security. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.